Christian statement of clarity and discernment. I write with the understanding that maturity in Christ must be seen where life is lived. This work is not about ideals spoken in sacred spaces, but faith carried into ordinary responsibilities. I proceed knowing that obedience revealed in daily conduct is the truest measure of spiritual growth, and that integrity before God must remain intact whether observed or unseen. This writing seeks to anchor belief to behavior without separating either from grace. Introduction to Faith Made Visible. Spiritual maturity is not proven by knowledge alone, but by how truth governs daily life. At this stage, faith no longer belongs only to moments of worship or study, but to work, relationships, choices, and discipline. This is meat lived out, not because it is dramatic, but because it requires consistency when life feels routine and unremarkable. The work of faith in daily life. As I grow in Christ, I begin to understand that my work is not separate from my faith. Colossians chapter 3 verse 23 instructs me to do whatever I do heartily, as to the Lord and not to men. This truth reframes labor from obligation to offering. Whether my work is public or hidden, skilled or simple, it becomes an act of faithfulness when done with integrity before God. Here I learn that honesty is not situational. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 1 declares that dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Integrity does not depend on enforcement or consequence, but on reverence for God. I understand that cutting corners, exaggerating truth, or compromising standards for advantage erodes spiritual strength even when unnoticed by others. In relationships, maturity requires restraint and responsibility. Romans chapter 12 verse 18 calls me, as much as depends on me, to live peaceably with all men. This does not demand agreement at the expense of truth, but it requires humility, patience, and a willingness to forgive. I learn that unresolved bitterness weakens my witness and burdens my soul. I also come to understand that love is not passive. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verses 4 through 7 defines love as patient, kind, not self-seeking, and enduring. Mature faith chooses love deliberately, especially when emotions resist. I learn that Christ-like love is an action governed by obedience, not a reaction governed by feeling. Discipline becomes necessary at this stage. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 27 speaks of bringing the body into subjection, lest after preaching to others one should be disqualified. This discipline is not punishment, but training. It involves guarding what I consume, how I speak, what I entertain, and where I invest my time. Discipline protects spiritual clarity and strengthens endurance. I also learn the importance of self-examination. 2 Corinthians chapter 13 verse 5 urges believers to examine themselves to see whether they are in the faith. This is not a call to doubt salvation, but to ensure alignment. I regularly assess whether my actions reflect my confession, and whether my habits support my calling. At this level, integrity extends beyond behavior into motive. Matthew chapter 6 verse 1 warns against practicing righteousness to be seen by men. I learn to serve without needing recognition, to obey without public affirmation, and to remain faithful when results are unseen. God sees in secret, and his approval outweighs every other. This stage teaches me that faithfulness is often quiet. It is found in showing up, telling the truth, keeping commitments, and honoring God in choices no one else evaluates. Meat lived out does not seek applause, it seeks alignment. This work exists to anchor maturity in reality, ensuring that faith does not remain theoretical but becomes embodied. I walk now understanding that every decision either strengthens or weakens my spiritual life, and that obedience practiced daily builds a faith capable of standing firm. I no longer live this way to earn favor, because favor has been given. Grace does not remove responsibility, it empowers faithfulness. I continue forward not striving to appear righteous, but committed to living truthfully before God, allowing my life to bear witness to the work He has done within me.